So you're with Accenture, and you mentioned in your talk that you have done research on the resilience of cyber attacks. Can you share a little bit more detail on the findings?
Yeah, so that's, I think, the second year in a row where we do the survey. We are surveying our, let's say, biggest clients and their cybersecurity, let's say, decision makers as well as business decision makers. And what we found out, and actually some good news, that security teams are actually doing quite well in terms of defending cyber attacks. What we see comparing to the previous year, 2017, this year targeted cyber attacks have actually doubled, but under this greater pressure, security teams has actually either identified or prevented more than in the previous year. So attacks are doubled, but companies are detecting and identifying more of potential data breaches.
What do you think is the major reason for that? Are IT professionals getting more aware of it? Is technology getting better, or what is it down to?
I think there are a couple of aspects and reasons for that. One definitely is that greater pressure. So basically, if you allow some attack going through and data breach appears, that's a big problem, and companies might lose even half of their business or even more because just of one such type of, let's say, data breach. So that's one. Second, of course, technologies are also becoming more, let's say, sophisticated in terms of more automation, more following what attackers are doing and trying to actually defend against those attacks. Of course, awareness as well is becoming more and more to the level as it should be, but the key reason I think for that is that companies understand if they allow those data breaches happening, they cannot do their business and grow.
You mentioned that awareness is growing. What do you think is the reason for that? Because in the broad society, I would think that awareness for security is still improvable, to put it in a positive way.
That's definitely, there won't be kind of 100% security, and this is ongoing process, awareness and training for both really end users and management, and second is for those really technical teams who are on a daily basis trying to detect and prevent those incidents. But the justification for that is that we see number of attacks are really increasing, but a number of real breaches are even a little bit decreasing. So it means we are doing better, and without awareness of end users, this wouldn't happen.
Did you also look at the financial side in the research, that you compared the amount of money that was lost to breaches last year to this year?
Not specifically in this survey, but in general we see that the increase related to doing and dealing with data breaches is increasing. Comparing to the previous year, it is, if I'm not mistaken, 23% up. So costs that companies actually need to spend to deal with data breaches. So this number is also going up. Of course, also investments in security as such is growing. Unfortunately, the growth is not as, let's say, high as I would expect comparing to previous years. 2016 comparing to 2017, there is just 8% growth in terms of what monies invest in cybersecurity as per Gartner.
Okay, and I mean, cybersecurity affects different levels of a system within the industry. So you have the network, you have the servers, you have the cloud, maybe you have the clients. Are there any findings, or are you aware of any numbers that a particular area increased regarding the amount of money that was spent on for cybersecurity?
Again, maybe not specifically in terms of money, but what we see that the top two attacks are also quite obvious. First is external or hackers, and second is internal, some kind of malicious insiders. So these are the top attacks that companies who participated in the survey identify as top attacks, both in terms of frequency, how often they are really happening, and second also from the impact and damage point of view. So these are the two types which are really the key, and companies must focus on them. But of course there are also data breaches that are happening quite often when someone misdirect information to wrong recipients or addressees. So that's also one of the attacks where we see very big impact, negative impact of course, and damage to the companies.
But what would you say are the doors that the criminals are getting into the company? Is it through a system, like a network or a server, or is it through social engineering and a human being that's working there?
Yeah, this is the whole spectrum. So we in this survey don't have, let's say, analyzed which are specifically the ways, or is it door or window from where they kind of get in, but definitely that's including social engineering and also technology-based attacks that are the key factor actually is that they're automated and becoming available as a service to potential intruders.
So you're a security practice lead at Accenture, if I get it right?
Correct.
What are your recommendations for your customers then?
And basically, one and most important is really do the testing of the solutions clients are developing or we are developing on behalf of the clients. Really pay attention on that, and it's not only about basic security testing, penetration testing, but nowadays it is also about training people on client side who are on ongoing basis maintaining security, looking at attacks and incidents that are happening, basically investing both in really testing comprehensively their solutions. Big part can be automated, that's kind of new trend, so both automated and manual human beings need to look at those solutions, and of course protecting key assets also from technology infrastructure point of view as well.
And from a technology point of view, what technologies do you see on the rise for future challenges that we need to face?
So at the moment there are three key kind of I would call not all of them, but still buzzwords like AI or artificial intelligence, ML or machine learning, and automation. So from my point of view, we are not, let's say, very far with artificial intelligence, but these are really the recommendations where all the attackers will start looking. So automatically from companies and organizations point of view, we need to start trying to predict and act very quickly on what is happening from attackers' side. What we are doing well already, automation and machine learning, I would say these would be the top directions where companies should invest together with quite intelligent monitoring systems that are implemented in the companies.
And just as a closing remark, the major attacks, what kind of form will they have in the future?
My prediction is that this will continue to grow, as I mentioned, as a service kind of solutions, ransomware as a service, DDoS attacks as a service. This would be spreading more and more. That's one direction, but definitely I predict GDPR is now in force, and there will be cases related with really personal data. Breaches related to personal data, and one important, let's say, milestone will be first cases when someone will be really punished by authorities because of not protecting information. So these attacks are happening, will continue to happen, but big milestone will be when someone will be fined, and this would be, I would say, next wave where organizations will be motivated to invest more and more and act more in this area.